Hi guys, I'll be talking about Amy Cuddy, who is a TEDx speaker who did a speech on how body language can shape the way that people perceive us. So I chose a TEDx speaker, Amy Cuddy. I've seen one other presentation of hers. I always find that TEDx speakers are very powerful and effective speakers, and I thought the topic that she was speaking on was very interesting. So one of the first things that I noticed was that she's very relatable. She speaks about examples that everyday people would see in their life about how your posture in professional events and personal events would really impact how people perceive you, and how it's one of the key telltales of how interested you are in a conversation or things of that nature. So I think that the topic is relatable and she herself makes it easy to relate with. The second thing I noticed, she's very confident about speaking, so she feels comfortable speaking. TEDx presentations usually gather quite a large audience, and she doesn't seem to be fazed by that. She has a lot of information to cover in a 20-minute presentation, so it's probably a very daunting task, but you don't see her be nervous or anything. And the last thing that I noticed was she's very understandable. So she's a scientific researcher in this field, and she's talking about something that has very in-depth and industry jargon-based roots, and she brings it down to a level that anyone in the audience would have an understanding of what she's speaking about, and doesn't have to be someone who is a psychologist or a researcher or a scientist to kind of get what she's talking about, which is definitely important when you're giving a speech, that the audience can understand everything that you're speaking on. She demonstrates well reading the audience. So since she's facing the audience in the TEDx speech, she can really see the audience level of engagement, how how much of their following of what she's saying, and the audience reactions to what she's saying. And the TEDx speakers usually, and Amy does this in hers, bring in some sort of activity that get the audience off their feet or interacting with her, which I think is always useful when it's the lengthy presentation that it is of 20 minutes. She demonstrates knowledge in the area, which I think is also very important when you're doing a presentation like this. So she shows that she has research in her own field and that she's done it herself. She has many sources and it cites numerous examples throughout it, which just adds to her credibility, which makes the audience trust in her even more. And lastly, she demonstrates positivity by trying to give the audience some takeaways from it to change their body language and to improve upon it. So I feel like that's something that's really important, is that her positive attitude makes people think, oh, I can take something away from a speech like this, and that I really leave remembering something. So I think that Amy embodies that. If you believe in what you're talking about, that everything else will kind of fall into place.